Hi guys, how's it going? So today I'm with Angus, and Angus has popped over to Budapest and he's having a great holiday so far, and I managed to bump into him. And yeah, we're going to talk today about basically travelling with a disability, and obviously as you can see, Angus is in a wheelchair and he is a solo traveller and he's travelling around the world in his wheelchair, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to ask Angus a few questions. But first of all, let's introduce Angus to the channel. So,
I decided just to do a bit of travelling for the experience, really. And disability, for those of you that don't know, I have spina bifida, which, for those that don't know, I was born with a defect in my spine, which meant that part of it didn't grow properly, which meant that the growth messages didn't get to my legs. So they are very, very limited in what they can do, which is why I use a special wheelchair.
So customised wheelchair.
Special customised, which I designed myself and had made to measure for me, and it has transformed my life. This piece of kit is what makes it possible for me to move, to very easily travel from my home in England to spend 3 days in Budapest, for example, or Malta, where I was last year. Do all those kind of things. This is the one piece of kit that makes it all possible.
Have you always wanted to travel the world? Has it always been like a dream of yours?
It's something that it sort of crept up on me, really. I kind of started getting a bit itchy and thought, didn't think it was possible, because when I was younger, it wasn't. I mean, I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
So years ago, when there wasn't as much awareness and there wasn't as much equipment around, it was a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But now, I'm at the stage where there's, for example, airports. They're a lot more aware of what can and cannot be done.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about my technique for that in a minute. But as time has gone on, it's been a lot more possible. So I've been able to, and also, to be quite honest, the thought of coming out and travelling on my own, at first it was a bit daunting.
Yeah.
But I just got to the stage where I thought, look, seriously, am I a man or a mouse? And I just thought, just get on with it, and whatever happens, just deal with each day as it comes. And that's the attitude I have now. Is whatever happens, is I make it work. Yeah. I find ways to make it work, and there are ways I have learnt that make it work. That so I'm sure I'll mention in a minute.
I was like a really famous quote that I once heard, and it was like, if you don't go when you want to go, when you do go, you'll find you've gone. And I just really like that sense of even for me, without a disability, I was really, really timid about going travelling and, didn't know what to expect. And then on top of, having a disability, it's just that one extra step, one extra hurdle that you've got to take. And I find it amazing.
Well, thank you.
You travel the world. You
see, to me, it's completely normal because I was born with this. And people have said to me in the past, I've got asked a question whereby I've been asked more than once, if I had to have a disability at some point in my life, would I rather have been born with it or have it happen to me in later life? I said born with it every time, because at least I grew up not knowing anything else. Yeah. Whereas I didn't have to go through the mental adjustment of that kind of life change. Yeah. So if it had to happen, then I think being born with it, for me, from my personal point of view, then that is, I think, it means I didn't have to go through an adjustment that I know a lot of people have had to.
Yeah. Which must be so hard for people.
I couldn't imagine it. Yeah. I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah. But, so you've been. Your first trip was to Malta.
Yeah.
And your second trip is Budapest.
Yes. Wow. First trip on my own was Malta. I've been away before, but not completely on my own. Yeah. Actually, that's not entirely true. I will say, about 12, maybe 14 years ago, I did completely take my life in my hands, and I did a fly drive in the States.
Yeah.
which was not particularly successful. That did not go well. That really did not go well.
So from the difference of travelling by yourself and travelling with someone, is there one thing in particular or a few things that you found particularly more challenging being on your own? Or?
Yes. Particularly finding out things like wheelchair access.
Yeah.
Because when I'm with somebody who, for example, is able-bodied, it means that things I really can't do or places I can't get into, I can and I will ask for them to do, because it just makes it quicker and simpler and easier. There are some things, like for example, that have happened here whereby it's been possible, but it's taken longer and I've had to ask for help and all that, which I'm quite happy to do, but it does take more time. And I have found that there are a couple of places that I've wanted to visit which are just not wheelchair accessible. It's just not going to happen because simply because the transport that is involved just is not wheelchair accessible.
And I guess like with times changing and new technology happening all the time and stuff like that.
Oh, it's getting better.
One day it might be accessible.
Oh, it's getting a lot better. I mean, all the time it's getting better. I mean, I think pretty much every year I travel. I mean, I was born in Jersey, so I go over there at least once, usually twice a year. And I've noticed that every time I go over, it gets a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. But I have a trick for that makes sure of that. And it's this: leave an hour longer than you think you need to check in. Every flight, just turn up an hour earlier than you think, and ask questions. If I could give you one piece of advice, ask them at every single stage between check-in and the plane. And keep asking questions. However stupid you think they are, they're not. And make sure that, for example, with my wheelchair, it's my own wheelchair, it's expensive, and I paid for it out of my own pocket. So I will ask them to be careful with it right up until the time that it leaves me and I get transferred into the aisle chair, and I will keep saying to them right up to the very last minute, please be careful with my chair. Do not be afraid to keep saying that, because otherwise there is a chance they will just treat it as another piece of luggage. And if my chair gets damaged, I am immobile, so I'll just keep asking.
Your chair is everything, is your world, is your whole independence. So
don't worry if you think you're being irritating. The trick is be polite. Be polite. That gets everything done. Be polite, be respectful, but as long as you remember that bit, just keep asking questions.
That's awesome. And so what type of luggage do you take as well? Do you take a huge bag, or have you got a little small bag?
I have, I've actually, through learning, through a bit of research, I have cut down the amount of stuff that I take with me. I used to take a massive, great big thing with me, and a bum bag and far too much stuff. And I found I was carrying heavy stuff around, most of which I wasn't using, because I could make a shirt last 2 days, and all that. So I was carrying far too much luggage around. It was far too heavy. It was giving me backache. So I actually sold my old 40-litre rucksack, cut down to a 30-litre, which is absolutely perfect for me. And even then, even on this trip, I've brought a little bit more stuff than I actually needed, but a lot better than when I went to Malta last year when I had so much stuff it was just ridiculous. I took 2 bags with me, one little one and one big one, and that was just far too much. But the trick is, I've been very lucky. I've found a bag where it's just an ordinary rucksack, but what it does, the kidney strap tucks into under the main backrest. Because the one problem I have with rucksacks of sort of 20, 30, 40 litres is that they all have these kidney straps, which, if you look, if you see, it goes there, and so
it's going to impede on the wheel.
And if the bag's going down the back there, the kidney strap won't go around because it gets caught up by this. I found this little 30-litre thing, which is plenty of room for me, and as I say, it tucks the kidney strap into the workings of the bag, which it's designed to do. Brilliant, absolutely perfect for me.
Yeah.
And it stops me carrying too much rubbish around. It's like just the amount of junk I was carrying around when I first started travelling, and I just thought, no, I don't need. It's just so heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and I was, within a few minutes of checking, I was like, my back is in agony, my shoulders hurt. And no.
So once you've sorted out your luggage and you've booked your flight and you've boarded the plane and stuff like that, obviously, before you've boarded the plane, you've booked a hotel. Is there any sort of things you do when you're making sure you're booking a hotel that you've got the right hotel?
Oh yeah. I always ask the hotel, is the room wheelchair accessible, and ask them about the wheelchair facilities they have in the room.
Yeah.
And I like to do that personally. On this trip, I booked through a travel agent and asked them to check for me. Now, the room was too small.
Yeah.
And the bathroom was so small I couldn't get. I could get the wheelchair through the main door, but I couldn't get the wheelchair to the loo.
Oh, bit of a problem there.
That was an issue.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that was an issue. And little things like having to sit on the floor of the shower.
Yeah.
And because I can't stand.
Yeah.
Well, I can, but only for tiny periods of time. And so having to sit on the floor of the shower and hoping that I don't get either frozen or burnt to death when I turn it on. And
so that is a pretty big problem.
That's a problem. That is a problem. Because with some of the hotel rooms I have been in England, they have like a chair that's either just on the floor or built into the wall, which makes it much better. Yeah. In the hotel I'm in, the bathroom's just too small. It's that simple. And the shower cubicle does not have the right number of bars. Yeah. It doesn't have the seat, and it basically doesn't have the kind of facilities that I
would expect.
But also, if I'm honest, I've started to take for granted when I'm staying in hotels.
Yeah.
So that was an eye opener. So their wheelchair accessible room is not particularly wheelchair accessible.
Yeah, that's not very good.
Not brilliant.
So in terms of research, you'd probably say do your own research and do more.
Do your own research.
Again.
Do your own research and do more of it than you think. Always go overboard on the research, because there's no such thing as too much research.
Yeah.
And do your research and ask questions. Just ask anybody who is relevant to your trip. Ask as many questions as you want to.
Yeah.
Trick is just always, whoever you're talking to, treat them with respect and be polite, and then ask as many questions as you like.
Yeah. What about public transport? Have you had any really good public transport situations, and then on the opposite side, that really awful public transport situation?
Do you mean specifically this trip or in general?
In general, yeah.
Public transport is a problem.
Yeah.
Overall, because I rarely use trains, because when I'm at home I drive.
Yeah. And
I rarely use trains because it usually works, but it's not very reliable, because with the way that British trains are designed, they need to be you need to have a ramp to get on and off, and somebody else is responsible for doing that, and you have to be met by staff and so on. And that doesn't always work, because they don't always communicate between them. And there have been times when I've been left trapped on a train.
Oh no.
Where the best one was in London. Went up to Euston. Fortunately, it was the terminal station. Yeah. Because I'd pre-booked. It was for an appointment and everything. I had to be at a specific place at a specific time and so on. So I booked everything. This is in England, where I live, and I got there. I opened the doors. There's nobody there. 25 minutes they had me waiting before somebody finally turned up. I did write a slightly grumpy email to the train company about that, I'll be honest. But yes, that's the worst one I've ever had.
Yeah. So basically situations where you have to rely on other people, like, you know, you probably say quite a lot of the time those people can't be relied upon, and that's where you have huge issues.
That's always my worry, is if you're putting the successful failure of a trip in somebody else's hands, that is where it becomes a worry. I like to rely on myself as much as I possibly can, and I like to be in control of what I'm booking and what I'm doing, and particularly the journeys and all of that. And I don't like having to rely too much on other people. I mean, you know, things like plane delays and all of that. That's something that is out of everyone's control. But when it's something specific that makes the difference for me, then I like to be in control as much as possible, which is why I always turn up early. I always ask a lot of questions, because then people don't forget me. Because if people think I'm just another face in the crowd, that's where the problems start.
So from your trips that you've done with friends or family and trips that you've done, you know, on your own, do you prefer being like a sort of a solo traveller?
Both of them have their pros and cons. Travelling with friends or family is better in that there's obviously there's always someone around. I'm not on my own, and if I end up with a problem, then two heads are better than one. And if that who I'm with is able-bodied, then if there is a small flight of stairs involved, or I need to get something from a shop, then I can just ask for that bit of help. That I will quite happily do. For me, the downside, if there is one, of travelling with friends is there are times when I can't, where I might not be able to do something I want to, or it's working around other people. But that is a very, very small price to pay. Given the choice, I prefer travelling with somebody else, or at least travelling and then meeting somebody else there. But because I mean, fun fact about me, I'm single and I live on my own. So I make my own decisions about travelling and all of this, and I just thought this trip was a bit of the spur of the moment thing. I just thought, why not? You know, I'm the kind of person who, if I get that kind of idea, or I go, well, I know how travelling works for me, so as I explained earlier, and I just book it and get on with it.
Because from talking to you, you are a very positive person, and you, like you were saying, you don't call it a disability, you call it a challenge, and you will just overcome every challenge that's thrown at you. This
is something I wanted to make clear to anyone who is thinking about, you know, who is wheelchair bound or has mobility problems or of any sort, or, you know, another thing I know again from my own experience and talking to other people that can be a real problem is, you know, anxiety problems or social anxiety or anxiety of any sort. In my experience, I know that they seem extremely daunting, but trust me, this is just my point of view, so take this or leave it. It's not a disability, it's a challenge. And if you can find a way around that challenge, and you can find a way to get over the problems, trust me, you'll find yourself in a place like this. And yes, I'm on my own, but I've had 3 days of, it's been amazing. The food's incredible, the people are lovely, the weather's been perfect. There is something about this, being in this city, that just makes me feel peaceful and genuine and happier than I have done in a long time, because I suffer from, another fun fact about me, I suffer quite seriously with anxiety, really quite seriously, and just being here, this is another reason why I just took a deep breath and went, look, just get on and book it, because what's the worst that could happen? To be honest, the worst thing that happened was I had to give up on going on one of the tours that I wanted to go on, because the bus is not wheelchair accessible. And when I asked, would they help me get on and off, they said no. That's the worst thing that's happened on the whole trip.
Which is pretty good.
That and not being able to get into the bathroom properly. But those two things put together, when you think of being able to get around, and I did manage to get on another bus tour, which was like a guided tour, which took me over to the Buda side, took me up to the Citadel Hill, and so on. When I think of what I have been able to do, yeah, those little things that have gone wrong, yeah, they're a tiny price. This is just, all of what I'm saying is my personal opinion, but they're a tiny price to pay for, I mean, look at the place.
It is a beautiful city.
It is.
We are currently sat here, so if you can hear that noise coming across every now and again, it is the tram, but it's the Parliament building. But yeah, I think just meeting you, you've opened my eyes massively to basically, you know, when I travel, you know, I come across certain problems, and I don't want this to sound weird, but I look at you going through everyday life, and I've got nothing to moan about. I've got nothing to, you know, struggle with, and it's just really fantastic that, you know, you're out there and you're traveling and you're doing it. It's just great.
It took a long time for me to get to this period because, again, fun fact about me, the anxiety. 2 years ago I went through a full-on nervous breakdown. Yeah. And had it not been for 2 or 3 of my friends, I wouldn't be here now. Wow. It got that bad. Wow. But now that I am, I'm like, yeah, it was worth it because I can do stuff like this. Yeah. So, well, it's been great to meet you, Angus. Oh well, it's been really good. Too. My pleasure. Have you got any last tips you'd like to say, or? Just it's not a disability, it's a challenge. I know that might sound daunting, but if you can, just give it a go, even if it's just the same, a different part of the same country. Yeah. You know, for those that live on the south coast, Scotland. I've never been to Scotland, but it's on my list. You know, it's the same piece of land. Yeah. If you don't want to go really, really abroad, just try something like that. Yeah. To start with, see how you get on. Yeah. Take it in little steps, see how you get on. But the people who are there in, you know, doing the travelling, like especially airports and things like that, they're supposed to be there to help. So just keep asking questions and check that your booking is in order, check that your hotel is accessible, check all your bookings, because then everything should go smoothly. And just, if you feel like doing it, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and press click. Yeah. Simple as that. Thank you, Angus, for that insight. That's my pleasure. Incredible. And Angus has also challenged me and Ali, if we can sort it out, is to go around in wheelchairs for a whole day. Yes, I was serious about that. I was serious, and I will be keeping an eye. Not cheat specifically as well. And I will be keeping an eye out for that video. Trust me. Yes, I was serious. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any comments, please leave them down below, and I'm sure Angus will feature on this channel again in the near future, and we can talk a bit more. If I'm invited to, I'm sure I will. Cool. And thank you very much, Scott. Yeah, thank you, Angus. It's great to meet you. Oh, you too. Thank you very much.